Well, good morning. Happy Thursday to everybody out there. I am excited to be back at the home studio here, office studio, where I have full control of what is going on. I almost feel like we may need to take days off if I've got to travel because that was not fun on my end. And I am ready to deliver a show today for you guys. So I hope you guys are ready to participate. I wanted to share a couple of things coming back from this conference. So I was out in Dallas with some of the biggest network people at Real Broker. It was an interesting setup, really trying to make sure that what we're doing at Real Broker with the massive growth that we are seeing is keeping culture, is keeping the kindness, is keeping the collaboration. Because when you scale from 12,000 to 26,000 and then you try and keep culture, that's not necessarily an easy thing to do. And I am just super stoked at what the leadership team is doing. We had the founder, Tamir Pollack, fly in from Israel. And you just had some great leaders, not just at Real Broker, but just in the real estate space. And I don't know. I think I love the phrase that live events change lives. This is one of those events where Sharon had told me, hey, you really got to come to this. Going to be some agent attraction stuff and how to grow your network. And it's like, we kind of know what we're doing there. I feel like we're good. Our agents kind of understand, and we're putting our agents in the best position to win on that stuff. But it was so much more than that. I'm really excited about the future of where the brokerage is going. And where they're going with a lot of the training stuff, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes kind of chatting at high level on some of those things, where I think the industry is going as I kind of talk to some of those people. First of all, the training, which obviously, as you know, is the whole reason that we do this show. We're trying to get 100 deals, worth of knowledge into your head in a 12-month period. That's kind of in the back of my mind, the goal. How do I keep you guys abreast as to what's going on with current industry stuff, but how do we continuously level up your deal knowledge, it's why it's so important for you guys to bring deals to the show. But as you guys know, there's thousands of classes that they offer. They're all recorded, but they are now going to be launching kind of a 2.0 that's going to be like Masterclass. So if any of you guys have used that app, Masterclass, that's kind of where they're going. And they're going to revamp this stuff so that it's very pointed. You don't have to sit there and watch, 10-hour-long webinars that somebody did. Let's get this stuff really, really pointed and sharp and to the point. I think that's kind of where the world is going. We need info now, and how can you get that into my head in a video first manner? So really, really excited about that. Excited about where the tech in our industry is going. For sure, I know AI is reading a lot of these contracts and helping out our state brokers, which is really, really cool. But I think they're going to take it to the next level with some of the stuff that they're developing to help everybody kind of move through a transaction a little bit faster. Because I think the future is definitely agents doing more deals, right? If there's going to be some commission compression and we want to make the same amount of money or more, you need to be able to do a few more transactions. So I think, some tech coming. But I think the biggest thing that I took away from being there is that everybody is just trying to work together to make this thing a rocket ship for agents to have success. How do we make it easier to share our knowledge, to collaborate, to do the masterminds like we do? We had Drew Thompson there from the Real Academy. I don't know if any of you guys went and did that roadshow, but I got 5 or 10 minutes in his ear about what we're doing on this call, and how do we maybe do some training in the Real Academy with deal doctoring and stuff like that, which is really exciting. So I don't really talk too much straight just on Real Broker, but it was a great conference, and I'm really excited about the direction, the year-over-year growth. But yet, hey, how do we keep the culture? How do we make sure that this is growing the same way with the work hard, be kind mentality? So, yeah, if you have a chance to do a live event, they're going to be doing some road shows. Please go, because I definitely I'm re-energized coming back, and I already have, a drive to take this to the next level and kind of, be one of the leaders that's helping to grow this place. So with that, we'll transition. Anybody have anything going on in their world, real estate wise, that you think would be a good share for the group today before we turn it over to our attorney today? What do you guys have out there? What are we seeing on our deals? How about just a small win? Anybody got a small win on a deal? Not everybody at once. Are we doing deals? Are we struggling on deals? Holy moly, my mic is on, yes? Can I get a thumbs up? My mic is on. All right. All right, Kate. Well, I guess they would love to just talk trusts this morning with our in-house attorney
So
here.
exciting.
Very exciting.
First, I kind of realized that I don't know everybody on these calls, or I've not met them personally. So I just wanted to give a quick little blurb about me and who I am and what I do. My name is Kate Garvey. I am the attorney at Garvey Law. I am licensed in Massachusetts and Connecticut. I do real estate, both residential and commercial, and I also do estate planning in both states and probate in both states. I also did divorce for about 7 years. I smartened up and got out of that line of work because it is exhausting, but I do know a lot about that. And the reason I am telling you this is because everything that I practice, you often see in real estate. You see estate planning, you see, which I'll be talking about a little bit today. You see divorce, unfortunately, and you see probate. So I just wanted to let you guys know a little bit about me for those who don't know me and what I practice, just because that could be a resource for you or a good attorney to use for you, if any of your deals happen to involve any of that. I just wanted to touch back a little bit on powers of attorney. I talked about them last week. And the reason I want to touch back on them is because I've had 2 more issues with them this week. One was on the sell side where there was a power to sell in the power of attorney, but it was not properly notarized and witnessed. I can't stress enough that if you know somebody who needs a power of attorney or is, wants to get one, to have them have an attorney do it. Luckily, in my situation, the woman who had the power of attorney was capable of signing, but we just had to go to a nursing home to actually have her sign. I did that yesterday, and had to get witnesses and things like that. Luckily, that was an easy fix. It's not always an easy fix. So if you have a power of attorney that is not accepted by your lender or title insurance company, your client may find themselves going to court to get, court appointed approval to sell the house. So just something to remember, make sure as soon as you know that there's a power of attorney involved, to get that to your attorneys so they can review it and send it to the necessary people to make sure it's okay. Because if it's not, they're going to have to come up with a plan B, and sometimes plan B is court. Nobody wants that. I also had a power of attorney issue on the buy side. I have I have a client who is overseas. He has been deployed. I have a power of attorney that is properly witnessed and notarized, properly drafted, and includes the power to sell and handle real estate transactions in the actual document. I am getting a lot of pushback from the lender. I personally think the lender is wrong. We're going back and forth. They are requiring a specific power of attorney for this sale, which, had we known about before he got deployed, we could have, addressed that. But the whole point of having a general power of attorney is for situations like this. It is giving somebody the ability to sign on your behalf for for something like this. We don't usually do specific because we don't have a crystal ball. If I had to draw a specific power of attorney for every single thing, I mean, maybe I'd have a lot more money because I'd be drafting, millions of powers of attorney. But that is why estate planning attorneys do a general, right? So you can use it for, numerous different things. You're not, you don't have to sign a new one for every little thing you do. So I am pushing back with this lender because I completely think they're wrong. They may have certain, things that their lender requires, but that doesn't mean it's legal and that doesn't mean it's right. So if you do have a power of attorney on the buy side, I suggest providing that power of attorney to your lender as soon as possible. So we can just, to see what their requirements are, to see if it's satisfactory, because if not, it could, delay the whole closing process. So I just wanted to kind of touch back on the power of attorney thing because I've been dealing with that this week. And I just talked about it last week. But
Let's just pause there for a second, Kate, before you do the trust stuff. Does anybody have any kind of follow-ups on power of attorney before we transition? Kate, if just at the end of the show, just put your contact info in there for Stacy so she can kind of walk you through that.
okay.
Yeah. All right, let's talk trusts.
Fun stuff. Um, I will try to keep this as simple as possible because trusts are complicated. There's a lot of reasons for trust. There's a lot of different types of trusts. Um, what you see out there most of the time, at least in my world, is a revocable living trust, which is, whomever is establishing it puts whatever they want in it, and it's ultimately a way to rule from the grave. So when you pass away, your assets go where you want them to go, and they're handled in the way that you want them to be handled. And it calls for things when bad things happen to good people, right? Like you have a child who is great now, but maybe, becomes a gambler, has an addiction problem later on. Your trustee can say, I'm not going to hand you all of this money because we know what you would do with all of this money. So we're going to, hold it back and you know, give it to you as needed, or I can pay a bill for you, things like that. That's just one reason why somebody would have a trust. A lot of times people do trusts for tax purposes. I will not get into that because I am not an accountant. But that is a lot of the times why you see houses in trusts, or for Medicaid purposes. Because if you put once again, I won't bore you with these details either, but people put houses in trust to try to avoid Medicaid/Title 19 issues. When you see trusts in real estate, they're not usually that difficult as long as the documents have been properly drafted. Once again, like a power of attorney, you need the power to sell, sign, handle real estate transactions in that trust. I have never drafted a trust without that language, but that's not to say other attorneys, include it all the time. So when you have a trust, whether you're selling as a trust or buying as a trust, the attorneys are going to need to see a copy of that trust. If there is a trust certificate, if not, one can be drafted for closing. Because we just have to be able to see and run it by title insurance just to make sure the trust is, legit and does what what it's supposed to do. If everything is properly done, it shouldn't hold up a closing. The closing should just go, kind of a normal closing. You just have to have whoever's listed as a trustee needs to be listed on the purchase and sale agreement and has to sign all of the documents. And that's true of a sale or a purchase. Sometimes people think that only one person has to sign if there's two trustees, and that is not the case. Everybody who's listed as a trustee needs to sign.
Let's just
Look,
take
I don't
it.
know if anybody has questions or
Let's
I'm
take it
sorry,
like a little bit
rambling.
higher level, Kate. Right? So, can you does it work in conjunction with the will? Do you have to have a will in order to have a trust? Can you just set up a trust? Let's talk about just some of that high level, basic foundational stuff on how you set these things up. Did you freeze? Am I frozen or is Kate frozen?
I think it's Kate.
It's Kate. Okay. Maybe she'll come back to us.
She's back.
Oh. Well, let's kill some time talking about what's going on with clear cooperation. 'Cause I'm not sure that we've really hit this too hard on the call, and I want to make sure everybody kind of understands what the kind of two sides to the coin are. Um, so Zillow put out an analysis study that they did that had some pretty interesting findings. So the study that they released revealed that homeowners who sold their properties off the multiple listing service in 2023 and 2024 collectively missed out on over $1 billion. So averaging a loss of nearly $5,000 per home. The Massachusetts stat was the median loss was about 3.4%, approximately $20,000 per sale. Zillow is kind of saying, hey, these private networks, right? So clear cooperation policy says that you've got to list in the MLS, and others are arguing, well, everybody should have the right to do whatever they want and list it however they want, and you don't have to put it on the MLS. So Zillow is really heavily criticizing these people that are trying to go for private listing networks, suggesting that basically it benefits the brokerages, and namely the big brokerage that is pushing for this is Compass right now. So Compass kind of touts that they have an internal network where you can sell with us and you'll get more money, et cetera. But the data is conflicting. So Zillow's kind of stance, and I think this is NAR's stance, is you're just trying to double dip on commissions, right? And often this is coming at the seller's expense. Says a January survey indicated that 63% of sellers felt pressured by their agents to list privately, a significant increase from 18% 5 years prior. Additionally, 68% of the sellers reported that their agents didn't clarify the difference between MLS and private listings. So, they're kind of saying, hey, look, this data underscores the importance of MLS exposure to maximize the property value and highlights the need for agents to educate clients on the potential financial drawbacks of a private listing. So, and remember, at the end of the day, even with clear cooperation policy in place, which it is right now, you can still choose to list off the MLS, right? You can still sign in as far as I know, every MLS has a form that you can say, I want to do a non-MLS deal. So anybody have any thoughts about this? Are you running into conversations with your sellers? Do you understand the difference? I just want to make sure that we're highlighting the difference
Steve,
here.
am I back on? I'm sorry to interrupt.
You are. Let us
Okay,
just
sorry, I
finish.
have no idea what happened.
That's
Continue.
okay.
I just didn't know what was going
Yep,
on.
you're
I'm
back.
sorry, everybody.
You're back. Linda, I saw your hand go up.
Hey, Steve, this is Jeff. How you
Oh,
doing?
Jeff, yep.
As you know, we're licensed here in Florida and also Illinois. There's to clarify at least one part, Illinois does a private listing network. That is for all realtors. It's not an intercompany only network. So I think it's a big put. Yes, it's in the MLS. So it is available to realtors. Florida doesn't have that same option. So state to state, private listing network, what you might be talking about is somebody doing intercompany only type listing. So just for clarification, we use that in Illinois, which is great for coming soons. So it's pre-advertising without days on market, which is significantly different. And you're still getting all the not syndication, but all the MLS exposure to every agent in the state there. So it's not just, hey, we're going to sell this inside or double deal. Both sides of it too. So just a bit of point of difference on those.
Yeah, that's a great clarification. Yeah, I think most of the MLSs have this option as well, where you can do a coming soon and start to do some pre-marketing. At least there, you're getting the agent network aware of what's going on. So
yeah,
I'm
we're
obviously
trying to do exposure to that. Yeah.
I'm in favor of clear cooperation. The CCP I think just makes sense. I don't see how are there scenarios where could there be a scenario where you list off market and get more money than you could have gotten on the market? I guess that's possible, right? You could just say, hey, hey, Jeff, I've got this listing. I was about to bring it to market. I know you've got a potential buyer, but man, you're going to have to knock our socks off or else we're going to bring this to market, right? So could you, conceptually get a buyer to overpay because they think they're getting something, they've got access to something before it even hits the market. Maybe, but I just think overall, it's in the seller's best interest to just get the maximum exposure to the market. So, but good point on the kind of how the MLSs can have their own little networks as well. Any other thoughts on clear cooperation policy? Yes, I mean, Refkin, it was the CEO over at Compass. His argument is basically that it's restricting the seller's autonomy to do what they want. That the sellers can avoid potential drawbacks associated with MLS exposure, such as accumulating days on market, price reduction, visibility, which could negatively impact a property's perceived value. I just think that's a stretch of an argument. And I'm just curious what you guys might be thinking. Any other thoughts around CCP? We feel like we've got a good understanding of the two sides and what the argument is, because I think you're going to see a lot of it. It seems to be making more and more headlines. So, all right, if no other questions, Kate, we'll let you finish up on trusts.
Sorry, guys. I have no idea where I just went. I I can open up. I know I don't know what happened.
Oh yeah,
Anybody
I was trying to get like a little bit of a high level of, do these work in conjunction with wills? Can you do it separate? Like, do you need to, right? Just talk a little bit about that.
They can work in conjunction with wills. There's two types of trust. Well, there's a lot of types of trust, but ultimately there's two big ones, right? There's revocable, which means what it says, right? You can revoke things, you can change things, you can, change it throughout your life. And that has some protections. And then there's irrevocable, which means what it says, you can't change it. A lot of people use irrevocable trusts for asset protection. So you'll see a lot of people put retirement plans and things like that into irrevocable trusts, because ultimately it's taking it out of your estate. There's much more to that, but if anybody really wants to know more about it, I'm happy to talk about it. And a lot of people put houses in irrevocable trusts because for Medicaid purposes, after 5 years, that house is not considered your asset, but the asset of that trust. So you'll see a lot of irrevocable trusts in real estate. So it does not need to completely match your estate planning. It's all part of your estate planning world, but it doesn't need to match your will. It can, or it can be completely separate. You can have a trust and no will. I would never really do that, but some attorneys might. But it is good for asset protection or protection for when bad things happen to good people, as I like to say.
Can you have multiple trustees that are representing this, and then how do decisions get made? Is it just all spelled out in the trust?
So trust literally, like I said before, you're speaking from the grave ultimately, or from those trust documents. So it can really, within reason, say anything you want. You can have as many as trustees as you want. I don't think a lot of trustees is a good idea, because then you have to have everybody agree, which I think in theory sounds great, but we all know in real life doesn't always work, because relationships fall apart. Things happen. So you can have numerous trustees. You can have just one. It can all be spelled out in your document. As long as it's legal. You can't say we have to kill somebody to, get them off the trust or something like that. But trust can be pretty specific to what you want.
And the other thing that you've mentioned a couple of times is, kind of speaking from the grave, but my understanding is there can absolutely be stuff going on while you're still alive. The trust is controlling things are happening. It's not just when you're not here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good point. And you'll see trusts a lot in real estate, especially for investors, or second homes, investment properties, things like that. You often see a trust as the member of an LLC. I've been seeing people do that a little bit more, which that's for investment properties, and it just kind of gives the investor a little bit of extra protection. But yeah, a lot of trusts, are people use them daily. A lot of businesses have them, especially in the flipping industry. And that's kind of how they buy and sell houses or trusts. So yeah, I mean, trusts you can use them every day or you cannot use them until you pass away, depending on what your goal is and your intent is for that trust. But it also helps if things are in a trust, if you have a business and you pass away, there's usually language in that trust that kind of is like business succession, which makes everyone's life a little easier. Less court involvement.
Anybody have any kind of clarifying questions on trusts?
And with trust, like specific to real estate, like I said, if you know a trust is going to be involved, let your clients know that the documentation is going to have to be provided. Which usually shouldn't be an issue, but you never know. Sometimes it is. Sometimes people don't even realize a trust, property's been put into a trust. So then finding that trust can be a pain can be a pain. So if you're selling a house where the house is in a trust, make sure you have that conversation with your client. Hey, do you have all these documents? I'm just kind of thinking from practical real estate
Right, because
standpoints here.
it can get put into the trust but not get recorded at the registry. So now you're at the registry and the owner appears to be, John Smith, but then there's a trust set up and you're not made how do you find out about this?
So usually it's so if somebody creates a trust and they want to put their home into it, it's simple, right? It's just redrafting a deed where you're deeding it into the trustee as the trust for blah blah blah. Sometimes that's not done. So people can think, well, my house is supposed to be in a trust, but if it wasn't properly done, not that you can't, do a deed quickly and sign it over, but it kind of depends on who the trustees are. Are they still alive? Are they willing to do so? All of that kind of stuff. The bigger issue I think that I've seen is when a house is in a trust and you're going to sell it and you can't find the trust. So, depending on who drafted it, sometimes people use things like LegalZoom, and it's not properly drafted. So that's kind of, especially when you're selling, if you see that it's in a trust, you need to make sure you have all of that information because that could definitely delay closing.
Right. So properly done, it should be recorded at the registry when it's put into
Correct.
a trust. Yeah. The
Correct.
problem is sometimes they put it into a trust, it's not recorded, or it is recorded, but we can't find the trust documents basically to explain, all right, what do we do here is what you're saying.
Correct.
Yeah. So just a question from Amber here. Is that the same as when you see estate of?
No, that's probate. They could be connected, right? If the person has a trust, they can be connected, but just because you see a state of does not mean they have a trust. A state of just means whoever the owner was passed away. So who the personal representative or administrator, or depending on what state you're in, will be in charge of signing the documents and doing, all of that stuff. I'm happy to go into probate too, but that could be another whole day.
We had Katie Sheehan do a pretty good deep dive on the probate stuff. So
good.
Yes, I think we've knocked it out of the park with trusts and wills and probate, and I think the reality of it is that it's pretty complicated, right? I know you guys deal with it a lot, but for us as agents, I think there's a lot of moving parts and understanding the lingo and understanding how they all fit together. There's a lot there. So.
Definitely, if I am your attorney, if you just have questions for me too, that's fine. If it's uncharted territory for you and you're like, I don't know, don't be afraid to ask. Ask whoever your attorney is. Definitely don't be afraid to ask me if I'm your attorney. I'd rather everybody know and we all be on the same page and things go smoothly than find things out, last minute and now we're all scrambling. But I get you guys don't deal with this stuff every day, so don't be afraid to ask questions to people who do.
All right, Kate, let me go through the trainings. If you could put your contact information in the chat. I know Stacy needed that. That would be great. We do have our CRM pipeline review today. One of the things I'm really, really excited about is a lot of these CRMs are starting to do some AI options. Our preferred on our team is to use Follow Up Boss, which now has some AI messaging options. So when you go in to do your follow up, instead of having to figure out what am I going to say, right, it's kind of now prompting you. And I know Lofty as well has integrated some of this stuff. So make sure you guys are understanding your CRM. Jump on Lauren's pipeline reviews. She does it every Thursday. She'll kind of go through the leads, show you the different options, different ways to follow up via text and via email. AI is now kind of built into both platforms, I believe, where you can do automated messaging based on lead activity and what it knows about the leads. So that stuff is pretty cool. It's definitely going to help with lead conversion. All right, quick look at the additional trainings available today. We got New Agent Starter Series. We got Master Your Sphere, Facebook Ads 101, Real Agent Society, Conversations to Closing, Niche Marketing and Branding. So 6 different opportunities, quite a bit there. Take a training, learn something, come back, share it with us. We'll do it one more time tomorrow. We got Finance Friday. We got our lenders on, so bring your finance questions. Appreciate you guys. Go have an awesome Thursday and share the show. We want to grow it, get more people on, more weird scenarios from your transactions. Jot them down and bring them here so we can discuss. Take care. Thanks, Kate.